John David Wicker, J.D. Wicker, the pro rata we all deserve, talking about the Pac-12 TV deal, saying that, the Pac-12 TV deal, that's the pro rata we deserve, and that the Pac-12 is going to get this deal done. It is going to be with familiar names. It is going to be done by the end of March. I don't understand why J.D. Wicker is talking about this. I truly do not. I wish I did, but I do not. And I'm going to play the bite for you, and I just ask you, should J.D. Wicker be saying this in a public setting where he was well aware he was being recorded?
End of next month, we will have the MOU done for our television deal. So we will know what our TV deal is going to be, who our partners are going to be. I will say this, they're entities that you're familiar with, that you would recognize. We're going to get great exposure, and the really good thing is we're going to get more exposure. It's not just going to be football and men's basketball, but it's going to be all of our sports are going to have the opportunity for this increased exposure. It's going to be increased revenue, which is a big thing for us. So that's really the next big piece. Once we know that, then we can go recruit that 8th football playing member. We need one more football playing member that has all of its sports to meet FBS rules or NCAA FBS rules. And then after that, we'll figure out if we're adding 1, 2, or 3 more schools, and whether they're coming in all of their sports. They might be coming in some of their sports.
First of all, how does he not know that you need a full member? Well, a football playing member that's an FBS, an NCAA, and they have croquet as well.
You mean a full share member?
A full athletic department. You have to have a full member. It's called full member. You have to have a full athletic department that participates across the board. Why is J.D. Wicker talking about this? And when you listen to J.D. Wicker talk, do you have an overwhelming sense of confidence?
I don't, only because of his track record, right? Like when you've talked before, it hasn't ended well for you. And so it always seems like, hey, we have this story, and then J.D. Wicker randomly comes out of the woodwork and starts talking about whatever the hottest story is. And he takes time off, right? I mean, we legit hadn't heard from J.D. Wicker since the pro rata we deserve situation happened before. And so it's been a while. And I'm not surprised that he would come out and make bold claims like this. But to me, no, it doesn't inspire confidence. I think, again, much like the Teresa Gould interview we talked about so much last week, this comment and this statement, I'm not going to say you're grandstanding, but you're just sitting here saying, hey, we're going to have a deal by the end of March. Okay, well, that's what you said last year. You said that you're going to, not JD himself, but the conference said you're going to have a deal by Christmas, and that didn't happen. Now, I think they'll get a deal eventually, but I'm not confident it's by the end of March. I mean, you're sitting here talking about getting a deal done in the next 4.5 weeks or so, 5 weeks. And that would basically conflict with what Teresa Gould said in the interview, because Teresa said that they're still out in the market trying to figure out their relationships and they want transformational relationships. So I don't know. I feel like there's a little bit of conflicting storyline happening here. And JD's trying to paint the picture that it's like, go ahead and book it. We're going to have this done by the end of March. And Teresa Gould wasn't so hot to trot about that in the interview.
Well, I hope they do get a deal done by the end of March. It'd be nice for Pac-12 fans to have some level of calm. It would be nice to have a plotted course forward, because I think the real, news out of that statement was not that, we're going to have a Pac-12 TV deal done. And I think, if my TikTok DMs and whatnot are any indicator, and usually they are not, Pac-12 fans saying, I told you we're going to be on ESPN. He never said that, first of all. So my advice to you as a Pac-12 fan, take anything J.D. Wicker says with a grain of salt. Number 2, hit the like button right now, please. That will really help you get the pro rata you deserve if you hit the like button. Number 3, I would not assume that this is ESPN, Fox, like major distribution. I would not assume that. I would hope for that. I would not assume that by any stretch of the imagination. I hope that it is done by the end of March. I think it can be done by the end of March. I'm probably 60% that it is going to be done by the end of March because I don't know how much longer they can go on. When you're talking about expanding and adding membership, that is a very long process. You don't have a lot of time to do that, which is why, as we exclusively reported on this show, they have been talking to people behind the scenes. So it's not as though they've issued invitations, but the Pac-12 hasn't just been sitting on their hands doing nothing. My guess is that they will probably get across the finish line in spring. I think this will be done by June 1st. But the real news out of that statement, they don't have a grant of rights with their new membership.
Right.
That's what the real news in that statement is. That Boise State and Fresno State, who's in a world of hurt right now at Fresno State, as we're going to talk about coming up. But Boise State, Fresno State, Colorado State, they don't have a grant of rights in the Pac-12. That's right there what that tells you. That's big news. Big news is it's going to, one of the guys who routinely DMs me about how stupid I am about the Pac-12 says that this means we're getting $15 million because Pac-12 fans are still buying into this idea their TV deal will be $12 to $15 million a year. To which I tell you, you should go to rehab because it's not going to be 12. How is it going to be $12 to $15 million a year?
Yeah, I don't know how you draw that conclusion based off what he said.
I have no idea. I don't know.
Like, he didn't say, oh yeah, we're going to have 12 to $15 million a year per school. He didn't say that it was ESPN. What he said is it's names that you would recognize, which again, I think, is a really broad statement. Like, if you take a second and think about that, the word recognize is a very broad term. Like, I recognize TNT or I recognize this or that, but that doesn't mean it's like the top dogs. And again, it's this whole situation with this story where people want to come in here and say, oh, well, you guys hate the Pac-12. Yeah, it's actually not that we hate the Pac-12. It's
nothing to do with it.
Yeah, it's more that there's been so much improper reporting on this and so much, just exaggeration and drama and emotion in this story that we're the ones saying, hey, like, you can't get away from the fact, like you just said, he just confirmed that they don't have grant of rights done, that they don't have MOUs, as he specifically said in that clip, done. But again, Pac-12 fan wants to say, oh, we're set up and we're done and we're good to go. And it's like, no, just because it appears, based on what JD said, that they have agreements based on people's words currently. Yeah, like, Boise State said, yeah, we're going to leave the Mountain West and go to your conference. And, you look at this graphic and these schools obviously have verbally committed. But I want people to understand who we're listening to here. This is someone who's been riding the Pac-12 train for years now. Like, this is someone who gave the Big 12 the bird because they thought they were getting into the Pac-12 when the Pac-12 was a Power 5 conference.
Yeah.
Like, this is not new.
Well, and here's what I would tell you. Listen to what he says here. Because, again, he never says, well, if you maybe look at it like this. If you were going to do a deal with, and most Pac-12 fans believe that he means they're going to have a deal with ESPN and Fox. That's what most Pac-12 fans have been saying on social media. So where in here does he say they're going to have a deal with ESPN and Fox? And would you say it like this if you were going to have a deal with ESPN and Fox? And where is he saying that there's going to be big money here? He's saying they're going to get a raise from the $4 million they were getting in the Mountain West.
End of next month, we will have the MOU done for our television deal. So we will know what our TV deal is going to be, who our partners are going to be. I will say this, they're entities that you're familiar with, that you would recognize. We're going to get great exposure, and the really good thing is we're going to get more exposure. It's not just going to be football and men's basketball, but it's going to be all of our sports are going to have the opportunity for this increased exposure.
So entities,
Right.
and all of our sports. So let's pretend it is ESPN. What did he just say right there?
That you're going to be all over ESPN Plus.
That's exactly what he said, right? Which I think would be a very good deal for the Pac-12.
Yeah.
And I will continue to say this until the Crows come home. If you're on ESPN Plus, it is a very good day to be a fan of the Pac-12. It is a very good day. Now, you're going to have to pay to see it, which you're going to hate, but it's a very good day. I think the more likely scenario is that you have a deal with the CW and that you have streaming partnerships, which I think is exactly what you should be doing. So that would be a good deal.
Mm-hmm.
But Pac-12 fan, I'm telling you right now, if you are expecting $12 to $15 million, and there are fans out there saying that, you're going to be disappointed. If you are expecting, ESPN, the big mothership ESPN2 to be your home for Pac-12 sports, I think you're going to be disappointed. That deal would be done already if that were the case.
100% agree. 100% agree. And again, who are we listening to? I just want to keep pointing this out.
It's J.D. Wicker.
You're not listening to Teresa Gould. You're not listening to leadership at the conference level. You're listening to, and again, it's not personal, just going off of what's happened, right? Just going off a track record and what we know up to this point. You're going off of someone who made one of the worst mistakes that I've ever seen in college football administration. You went out and you said, hey, we're not interested in joining a Big 12 conference that, is still in existence today and is still in a great spot. We're interested in joining the Pac-12 and we want the pro rata we deserve. And we're going to put that on paper only to look foolish, only to look silly, like you don't understand what that means. And so, again, I if you're not a Pac-12 fan, you're just looking at this story. Yeah, I do think you got to take it with a grain of salt. Like you said, I do think that you have to have some understanding that, hey, J.D. Wicker's always going to be pro Pac-12. You're never going to hear him say, oh, yeah, hey, the conference isn't in a great spot, or we made a mistake, or notice he said the pro rata thing and disappeared for however long it's been now and is only resurfaced now. Like it just, so yes, I think they'll get a deal. No, I don't think it's going to be some juggernaut of a TV deal, man. That's not how the industry works.
Yeah. And Sal Capone, you stick around because this is one of the most ridiculous comments ever made on this show. And I am so excited to talk about Arizona and BYU. So Sal, you stick around. Let's see who's first in today. Oh, Sal. Good morning, guys. Look forward to a great show. Everyone hit the like button. Yes, please do. Jay Chapman, hello. Midweek Coug. Long live the Pac-12, I hope. Again, I don't think the Pac-12 is folding. The question is, and it's the same question that we put to Gloria Nevarez last week on the show. Can both of these conferences thrive? Because I don't believe that both of these conferences get an $8 million deal. I think one of them gets $6 to $8 million. The other one gets 4 to 5, 6 at max. I think that's what you're looking at. I don't think there is $16 million in the marketplace for these two leagues. That would be stunning.
Yeah.
That would, because I also don't believe that you're going to go to ESPN and get $16 million combined. ESPN's not going to pay, let's say, 8 to the Mountain West and 8 to the Pac-12. Where is that money coming from? I don't. And my biggest concern for the Mountain West and for the Pac-12 is I just don't see that there are multiple distributors with late night windows on the West Coast. I don't see that because I'd also remind you, ESPN's got the Big 12 already. So the flagship ESPN and ESPN2 are gone because you've got the Big 12, you've got the ACC, you've got the SEC. Like, you have a ton of football content. So I don't see that there's a ton of late night windows with ESPN, with Fox. I could see Fox having primetime East Coast. I could absolutely see that. But one of the things that is so interesting is if you're playing USC and Ohio State at the Coliseum for a 6:30 Eastern, or excuse me, 6:30 Pacific, 9:30 Eastern kickoff. Let's say 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern kickoff. Do you want your other partners in the Big Ten playing? Do you want ESPN? Do you want Fox? Do you want CBS? Do you want any of them to be playing a game in a primetime window? The answer is probably no. So I don't think Fox has a late night availability for you. I don't believe that's going to be the case, because is Fox willing to compete with NBC? Here comes Saturday night,
Right.
I think you have to keep that in mind. So I don't think that Fox is in the late night TV, Pac-12 after dark business.
Yeah, and I think the hard part for the Pac-12 is they're going to have to do, they're going to have to find the way, they're going to have to behave in a way with scheduling that works for the TV partners, not the other way around. And I think that there's been so much talk outside of the Pac-12. Obviously, like the Big Ten's talked about it a lot. Like Ohio State and Michigan never playing night games, like the preference that they get scheduling wise. The Pac-12 obviously is not going to have those luxuries. And so I think it'll be interesting to see, like, when they get a deal, let's say it's ESPN Plus and the CW and maybe a little bit on TNT.
It's the C-Dub.
The
please.
C-Dub. Are we going to get a lot of like daytime Pac-12 stuff, or are they going to get some later night window stuff on the CW?
So let me read you this DM I got from my guy Rodrigo
via social media.
Who
now before you get into the DM,
mm-hmm.
I'm putting it over I'm putting the over under at 2 times that he calls you stupid or doesn't know or says you don't know what you're talking about.
Rodrigo.
Okay.
I'm a lifelong Pac-12 fan and a current student at Fresno State.
Uh-huh.
A deal with the C-Dub, which is what made me think about this. A deal with the C-Dub is fine. You insinuating that the C-Dub sucks tells me how uninformed you are about the TV world. Why don't you focus on the SEC, you homer?
So now you're an SEC homer.
Now I am an SEC homer. The one that I actually, and it's rare that you get this.
You're a homer. It's the first part.
Yeah. So it's rare that you get the word intelligent conversation. Stewart, who is a San Diegan.
Right.
Stewart said, you're one of the more level-headed guys on the Pac-12 media rights deal. Notice he didn't say TV deal. He said media rights deal.
Right.
I hope it's not the CW. And he actually used the C and the letter W. I hope it's not the CW. I don't see that gives us the proper distribution. But I also think there are too many Pac-12 fans who would be happy with the CW. What are your thoughts on ESPN and the Pac-12 going all in for each other?
All in for each other, bro?
I'm hearing that's the deal. $15 million all in for ESPN DC, direct to consumer. It should be DTC, direct to consumer. Okay. I don't know. I don't believe that there's any opportunity for ESPN to pay the Pac-12 $15 million a deal.
All in.
To go all in. That's not one, that's 2 knuckles. Okay. So I am not the expert on what the TV deal in the Pac-12 will be. I can only tell you that from what our sources in the TV industry have told us, ESPN's not in the $15 million a year for the Pac-12. They're not paying the Pac-12 $150 million a year because, as I have been told, the Pac-12 is looking for a 10-team media rights deal. They want a deal that includes all of their current members, and then they want the ability to get a pro rata if they add up to 10 members. That's I'm told that's part of the conversations happening with the Pac-12 and their prospective media partners.
Uh-huh.
So if you are $10 million or $15 million for 10 teams, that's $150 million a year. ESPN's not paying anybody $150 million a year. They're not going to do that for the Mountain West or the Pac-12. I think those are pipe dreams. So I also don't see ESPN going all in with the Pac-12. I don't think they have the over-the-air inventory to do that. I don't, because I can tell you firsthand, ESPN values the Oak State BYU Bedlam game. Well, that's a Freudian slip. But the mayhem, the mayhem that led to the Lassiter touchdown in Provo, and the crowd goes wild, and they value that late night football content. Because you remember what time that happened. You guys remember what time of night that was? Yeah, that was 1:15 in the morning Eastern time. That was 10:15 at night on the West Coast.
And I have to say, it's quite the vibe watching those kind of games that late at night in the fall.
I agree. Stephen Smith says, your guys' coverage of the Pac-12 has been spot on. Thank you. And thank you for being a member for 18 months. Wow.
Dude, I don't know how we've survived this long without an appearance from our guy here.
Look at this.
Have you been too busy on the route?
Lubbock's best mailman, Aaron MFing Wilson, is back. My guy.
Let's go, dude.
You know what? You are not somebody that is out of my thoughts very often. I think about you on a pretty regular basis, dude. I always wonder how you're doing. I love that you're here. Aaron has been a longtime supporter of this show, making videos during our bucked up competitions and submitting lineups on Prize Picks, and everybody's favorite Texas Tech fan has gifted not one, but two Monty show members.
Let's go, baby.
Aaron, good to see you, dude. I genuinely hope that you are just absolutely crushing souls as a postal employee. And I hope that you were able to respond to Elon's email. You know, I had a long debate. So, and I'm not going to say his name, bless his soul.
Bless his heart.
One of the things that happens through things like Pac-12 media deals, you get the guy who's like, you're fat and stupid, don't ever talk about the Pac-12 on your show again, idiot.
Yeah.
Who converts into, oh, you might have been right.
My bad.
Oh, wow. I like, he sent me a picture. He sent me like a rose emoji and was like, here are your flowers last week. When Ed Scott said what he said about the Pac-12, and it's morphed into one of those conversations. He is a federal employee who told me he got Elon's email, and I'm not going to say his name, and not that anybody gives a rat's ass about this show, and he was telling me, yeah, I told him, apparently Elon sent out an email to every federal worker. Every federal worker got an email from Elon Musk saying, I need to know the 5 things you did this week to justify your job. And this cat's like, yeah, I sent him the 5 things, but there's no way he's going to read my email, because apparently I did not know there's 13 million federal employees.
Oh,
I was unaware of that, who all got an email from Elon saying I need to know the 5 things you did last week. And if you don't reply, you're going to be fired. This dude's like, yeah, I sent him the 5 things, but he ain't going to read it. And the other best part about this, and I love my dude. I appreciate that you have, repatriated yourself to the Monty show. He's like, I put on red receipt on the email I replied to Elon. So I'm going to wait and see if he read it. I'm going to say that he's not going to, you're not going to, even if he did read it. Anyway, Aaron, I hope you were able to respond to the email because I want you to keep your job as a postal worker. So, Stephen Smith, every time the Pac-12 tries to come back to relevance, they can't get out of their own way and somehow keep screwing it up. I think the Pac-12 conference should just merge with the Mountain West and be done with it. I think we're past that. I still put it at 10% that there would be a merger.
Yeah.
So I think we're past that. I also look at, I don't think the Pac-12 continually, quote unquote, screws it up. I think what happens is that they have not humbled themselves. They have not said, wow, we're in a world of hurt here. $6 million per school per year would be a really good TV deal for us. And until they're willing to do that, I don't think they can deliver on their. Did they promise what the conversations surrounding $12 to $15 million are ridiculous?
Yeah.
And
emotion-based conversations.
And until we move past that, we got to stop. We got to stop with that. In all seriousness, they ain't getting $10 million a piece.
I just don't think, based on the current TV deals that are already done, that the brands in the Pac-12 are worth that. I think you would have a hard time saying, like,
I would agree.
Hey, we're this school, we're worth 10 based on what you did over here.
I
just
would
don't
agree.
think the math doesn't math there.
I would agree. I don't see the awkward guy. I recognize Fubo TV. Exactly. Fubo TV. Look, I recognize the cooking channel, Marty. Let's see. Stadium guy James. Good morning, James.
Now, again, this cannot be a comment about IPFs and upper decks, dude.
Well, I was just at Snapdragon Stadium and I did a video. It's on my YouTube channel where I also have priest pedo stuff. And I'm really concerned the Pope's going to die. And they're going to bury his ashes in the IPF at Utah.
He's got no class.
That's what I heard. Pac-12 fans have to deal with the fact that TNT is losing the NBA. And they are the only ones who have the money to sign the Pac-12. Can I ask you, why is TNT not a good option?
Yeah, I feel like TNT would be a good option.
I feel like TNT is a great option.
Yeah,
they want live sports. Yeah. They have they don't have a lot of money to spend at Turner. They have money to spend, and they certainly have the money to procure a continued relationship with the Mountain West, and with the relationship that's in place with the Mountain West. I would think that they would continue that. So
we'll see.
Does TNT have money for both the Pac-12 and the Mountain West? Who knows? Who knows, man? And Donuts, the PAC will be performance-based on selling streaming subscriptions.
See, now that would be interesting. I don't love that deal for the Pac-12 at all.
Yeah.
I think that puts you in a really tough spot.
I don't love that deal either.
Yeah.
I don't love that deal either. Oak State James, if it's ESPN Plus or the CW, it won't be as much money as they think. Well, there's that. Eric Wasikowski, Amazon Prime, ESPN, CW, Cousins gets them $10 million at the max. Yeah, I don't know that they're getting $10 million.
The problem with that,
I don't know.
See, and this is a thing to consider too. I think it's a great point, Eric, for once in your life. ESPN and Amazon Prime are not going to be on the same deal because ESPN, it wouldn't put them on the big ESPN. It would be ESPN Plus. And you're not going to do a deal where you're on Plus and on Amazon Prime.
And I also think one thing I would say about ESPN, it's unclear what ESPN's direct-to-consumer product looks like. And when I say what it looks like, is it an app that you download? Is it ESPN Plus, but all of the programming's available?
I mean, I would guess based on ESPN's business and just like, from an efficiency standpoint, I would be shocked if it was another app you had to download. I think what makes more sense is they would, renovate the ESPN app and the way you get to ESPN Plus or whatever that new DTC product's going to be called.
Because if you look at ESPN, and I think we both watch a pretty considerable amount of content. I watch it every day. As a golf fan, they have every PGA Tour event, the early rounds. And it's Thursday through Sunday. I can get golf on ESPN Plus. But it's ESPN. Open the ESPN app. It's ESPN. There's a watch tab and then an ESPN Plus tab where the UFC fights are or their pay-per-view stuff is. And if you're a subscriber to ESPN Plus, which I am, thank you for the tax write-off. That's where that's what you watch. So I think we have to wait and see what the direct-to-consumer interface looks like. Because my guess is if you're the Pac-12 and you do a deal with ESPN, I think that would be fantastic. I would celebrate that deal if you are the Pac-12.
Yeah.
Because my guess is you're going to have your own tab in ESPN Plus that will be like, hey, and I would assume that you'll be part of their direct-to-consumer product. That would be fantastic for the Pac-12. I think.
Yeah, no, I would agree.
Right?
Yeah, that would be great.
Pac-12 on Prime sounds good to me. I don't think it'd be bad, Aaron.
That option as well. I think ESPN Plus is a better option, but Amazon Prime would not be a bad thing.
Cougs Johnson. Hello, Johnson.
Johnson.
Stay hard.
We, as Oregon State and Washington State, never said no to anything, including the old Big 12.
Right. But the problem was it was never offered to you. So,
I think the question is, when you say we never said no, I can tell you firsthand that you said no to a deal that included ESPN before the Pac-12 melted down. You said no. The problem in the old Pac-12 was you thought you were worth $50 million a year by back of the envelope calculations.
Yeah.
And you were never worth $50 million a year.
Back of the envelope calculations.
That's the hard part. So at this point, we can't keep looking backward at what the Pac-12 said, didn't say, didn't do, did do. I think you can only be singularly focused on what is ahead of you. You've got what the Pac-12 did in the past. You're either going to let that condemn your future or you're going to learn from it and move on. The biggest question I have for Pac-12 fans is Teresa Gould the past or the future? And I think she is both, and that's the problem. Because when you keep the same methodology in place, like I think Kirk Schultz retiring is a huge move forward for Washington State athletics.
Yeah, I agree with that completely.
You need new leadership. Washington State is a proud, valuable brand that is, I think, suffered under financial malfeasance, in my opinion. Just irresponsible spending, in my opinion, poor spending, like bad decision-making. That's what I think Washington State needs new leadership, and you're going to get it. And let's see what happens. Because, again, as I love to say on this show, the best indicator of future action is past action. That's going to tell you.
Yep.
That's it's simple as it gets.
Again, whether it's J.D. Wicker or Teresa Gould or any of these people, we're seeing that. I'm telling you, and I really don't want this to happen, but if we get to April 1 and they don't have a deal done, we're going to have a conversation about when J.D. Wicker should talk and when he shouldn't talk.
And when J.D. Dicker shouldn't, J.D. Dicker,
the kicker,
when J.D. Wicker shouldn't be the athletic director at oh, wait, that's right. He should not still be the athletic director at San Diego State. Period. I think Aaron's idea would make sense. Would Amazon be willing to pay $7-8 million a year in the seat-up? No. You're not going to pay more money to split content. So you're telling me, let's pretend they get $16 million a year from Amazon and the CW. Explain to me who gets the grade A content. Who gets the best game? Who gets? Where are we playing Gonzaga basketball? Are you telling me that the CW's paying $8 million a year not to have Gonzaga basketball?
Gonzaga.
Or only to have half of Gonzaga basketball?
Gonzaga.
Are you telling me, because what's the best football game if we look at the Pac-12 right now, you guys tell me what is the best football game on paper here? Oregon State, Washington State. Washington State's probably the biggest TV market or viewership draw. So Washington State, Boise State, to me, looks like the biggest. Are you telling me the CW's not getting that?
Yeah, well, and I think to that point, like, you also have to consider that, the way TV deals are structured, and this is not unique to the Pac-12. This is we've seen this over and over and over and over and over again, repeatedly. You're going to have the tier 1 partner who is going to get less inventory, but the best games, right? They're going to get the biggest, most relevant games, and that's going to be, in most conferences, that's like 2 games a week. Typically, that's going to be like in the Big Ten. That's going to be, that's going to include 4 teams most weeks. That's going to be Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon, and whoever, Penn State, let's just say, as an example, right? So they're going to have those 4 teams, which obviously equates to 2 games a week, but those are the biggest names in the conference playing, and they're going to do the most numbers. So value-wise, that makes sense for, call it, NBC, let's just say. Like for the Pac-12, again, this is where I think you start getting limited with the financial picture, because again, when you look at the teams and the matchups that you could create currently, your best matchup, I would agree, is in question. It's not definitive what your best matchup is. We all know it's Boise State and somebody, but we don't know who that second team would be. So if we as, observers, I would even call, us as people who cover this game very closely, cover the TV space closely, I'm telling you that there's not a definitive tier 1 game in the Pac-12 right now. It's Boise State and whoever. And so if you're doing a media rights deal with 2 tiers, I guess the first tier is just, hey, we're going to get every Boise State game. Is that what we're saying? Like, hey, if it's, let's say it's ESPN or on ESPN Plus, that means that every Boise State and whoever game is on ESPN Plus, and then, or maybe that's a CW. My point is that there's not enough depth in the conference currently to have a real clean cut delineation of like, hey, we're talking to the CW. This is the obvious thing we're going to talk to them about. You're going to them saying, hey, we've got this mix of schools. We're going to need a pro rata because we're going to expand after we do this TV deal. And these are the schools we're going after, which again, I also say is a huge question mark. Who are you going to go after as the 8th, 9th, and 10th teams? Because that's what he said in that clip, that they're going to try and get to 10 teams essentially. And I don't know who you go after there. Are you going to go back to the AAC schools? Is that the American schools?
I don't know.
Like that's where I look at this TV deal and I say the conversation isn't really about if you're going to get a deal. I think you're going to get a deal. That's not really the question. The question is more like, hey, when you get that deal, first of all, where does it come in for valuation? And again, I think 7-8 million is a really, really safe number if you're looking at this deal and thinking and trying to project forward. So let's call it $8 million a year per school. Okay, at that point, then who are the partners? If it's the CW and ESPN Plus, I think that when you go to expand, the money's not going to be great. Like if you're the CW, can you really sit here and be like, yeah, we're going to give you 10 a year per school. And when you go out and add 3 more, we'll give you, another 30 million. Like, I don't know that the CW has enough viewership to justify that. I mean, does the CW have enough ad pool to justify spending that kind of money?
No, but I think you also have to look at the tea leaves here. I think that obviously Gonzaga and ESPN have a good relationship, which is why I continue to hear that Gonzaga is trying to facilitate some portion of ESPN being involved in the Pac-12 deal. And that's why I continue to say I could absolutely see a very small piece of the Pac-12 deal being on the ESPN family of networks, which could include ESPN Plus and ESPN.com and I just have to believe the CW gets the lion's share of the deal. And I think there will be a secondary network involved there. I think TNT, I think one of those other networks
Right.
could get into that. How much of the football, how much of the basketball, I think that pie gets cut up. But I have to believe that ESPN wants to continue to take Gonzaga basketball, right? I would think. That would be my opinion.
Gonzaga.
Because more than 9 people have told me that ESPN likes Gonzaga basketball, which I understand it's a premier basketball program.
Yeah.
Why would you not? So I just think the whole thing is very interesting. I am not of the belief that they're both getting 7 to 8. They're both paying $7 to $8 million a year.
Yeah, and I also think
I don't see that
when you compare them both, like obviously we know the Mountain West has been further down the road with their TV partners. So again, I also think that's an interesting question. We know that the Mountain West has a great relationship with CBS. So if they go that route, then that still leaves the door open for the Pac-12 to do with these other networks.
San Diego State Glenn, good morning to you, sir. I saw a Mountain West show yesterday, Mountain West Conference show yesterday, where the host said he's seen the Mountain West grant of rights, the Mountain West Conference, and it says UNLV won't have to pay an exit fee only if it leaves for the Big 12. That's absolutely the case.
Yeah, we've said that.
Yeah, we've said that before. We saw the memo of understanding in November. I think it was the first time we saw it. And it clearly states any team can leave the conference to go to a P4. You can, if you're stepping up, you can, and you're going to a power conference, you do not have to pay an exit fee.
Yeah.
That's the deal in the Mountain West for sure. Aaron Wilson, I'm back, baby. Just had a birthday and on vacation. Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
Happy birthday, dude.
Mike Smith, good to see you, Aaron. Jeremiah Champion. Love the community this showgram is built. Yeah, so do we. Aaron says hello. Elon gonna cut my route. Let's hope he doesn't cut your route. I hope that's not the case. You know,
Aaron, do you have a mail truck or do you walk? Like,
yeah,
what's the setup? What's the setup?
For those you don't know, Aaron Wilson's a phenomenal bro. He's gone through a lot. His dad passed away. We tried to raise a bunch of money for him to help rebuild his dad's house, which he had trouble with, like the heat and just all kinds of stuff. And Aaron's been a big part of the show for a long time, but he's been a lesser part of the show because he's also a mailman in Lubbock.
Yeah.
And so he works. Although there's a huge change coming to this show. When are we going to announce that?
I don't know. When do you want
to announce it? Because if one more
of
you hyenas ask me, hey, I won't tell anybody.
Marty,
I won't.
Your secret's safe with me.
I promise. We have to figure out, because April's going to represent a pretty big change on this show. So we'll have to figure that out. But yeah, Aaron's been part of the show for a long time, and I'm glad to see you. Dad Keo. Aztec, I'm not Monty, but that is true. Not just the Big 12, but any power conference. Correct.
Dad.
Oak State James. Oh, I got that stupid email too. I sent him a list of 10 things. Are you a federal employee?
Hold on. Okay, hold on. We got to review this, bro. We got.
When did you become a federal employee?
So wait, you're a pastor
who's writing a book about pedo priests,
right? And so obviously Penn State's the focus,
right?
But now you're a federal employee. I'm sorry, I'm confused on what you do for work, bro. What do you do for work? Now I don't understand.
Yeah, I have no idea what you do.
I thought you traveled around interviewing priests for this book. That's legit what I thought you did.
I don't know. The Buffalo Hunter, Elon will have Grok read them.
Yeah, right.
If you think that was a foul on Arizona, you don't deserve my nut today, bro. If you think that was the only blown call, how many good calls did the ghost foul on the three-pointer? Love shooting a three-pointer, never touched. 13 minutes from now, it's 7:00 Mountain, 6:00 Pacific. We'll get into that. Trust me. Rock and rant. It is pretty inexcusable for an athletic director like him, new to the conference, getting out ahead of their commissioner. That's You know what, Rock and Rant? That's the first
negative. We didn't want to be assholes about this, dude. Everyone says, oh, well, you guys hate the Pac-12 and you hate on San Diego State and, you know, you guys are just negative. I didn't want to say that. I didn't want to go down that route. You know, I didn't want to point out like,
because that's the first thing I said. I was like, why is JD Wicker talking? And it's what I said to start the show. Why is JD Wicker talking about this in a public forum where he's being recorded?